It's creamy, it's cheesy, and loaded with all the protein and veggies you need to make this 12-minute one-pot mac and cheese masterpiece your new go-to dinner or meal prep for the week. On top of my busy life, I make all my own meals, every meal, except for the occasional Chipotle bowl, so having something like this quick to make is a lifesaver. And when I say 12 minutes, I mean 12 minutes, from the time I turn on the stove to the time these nudes are done cooking. Pot. The only pot I'll be needing for this dish. There's an elegant and rather simple formula to this mac and cheese, which starts with the star of the show, macaroni. I love the shape and style of this cavatappi macaroni. I find it both fun and sophisticated, but any macaroni noodle with a similar cook time will work just fine with this dish. 168 grams, or roughly 2 cups of this stuff, is ideal for me for 2 hearty servings of mac and cheese. To the pot those go. Next is the liquid. Yes, it is essential to measure these ingredients out. Getting this right ensures the end product is cooked to perfection. You'll see what I mean. 1.5 cups of water, about 325 grams, and evaporated milk. Yeah, evaporated milk. If you've seen this ingredient used before in the world of YouTube mac and cheese creations, you might not be surprised to be seeing it here. The reason why I use evaporated milk in this recipe is that it is exceptional at thickening sauces and maintaining emulsions, both crucial to a creamy box mac and cheese style sauce, and it's all thanks to disodium phosphate, a phosphate salt made by reacting phosphoric acid and sodium hydroxide. You can actually make something similar, sodium citrate, another emulsifying salt, from reacting baking soda and lime juice. I've relied on this little trick for a while before trying what I'm about to show you here with evaporated milk. I think the end product is far superior with the following method. 1/2 cup, or roughly 110 grams, I'll add that to the pot. Of course, that's not much evaporated milk, so I just like to save the leftovers in the fridge in pre-measured amounts. Saves me on time. Long-term storage, I freeze the milk in cubes. And that right there is the bare bones base of this mac and cheese recipe. But this wouldn't be loaded mac and cheese without a few more ingredients. Dried mushrooms. They add deep, rich, savory notes to any sauce or broth, and as expensive as they might seem, they are dirt cheap and stupid simple to make yourself. I make mine from whole store-bought or wild foraged mushrooms. I usually wait until they're on sale and only ever buy the organic ones. Pesticides. Clean them with a paper towel, damp works best, slice thin. The thinner these are, the more quickly they will dry, and I lay them out on paper towels in the open air. Under a fan or with well-circulating air, these puppies should be dry in about 3 to 7 days. How you tell when they are sufficiently dried and shelf-stable is by the sound they make when you break them. They should have a nice, dry-sounding snap to them, just like this. A bit of Dijon mustard, also completely optional. I just find that it helps to add a bit of acid and light spice to the mac. And in goes some frozen broccoli. About 1 cup per serving seems to be about the perfect ratio of mac to veg for me. Use whatever you'd like. This is just the quickest and easiest thing for me. Salt, but only a little. Really, it would be best to save this until the end, since whatever seasoning goes into this milky, starchy broth is going to be concentrated by the time it's all cooked down. A hint of onion powder. Again, this will be more concentrated by the end. Set that on high heat and the countdown now begins. 12 minutes on the clock. It may not look like much now, but this pot of disparate parts will look and feel like a cohesive whole once it's ready. I'll just poke around at things as they are heated to make sure that nothing sticks. Bear in mind that this method will likely result in some slight burning of the milk on the sides of the pot, but the spots are easy to wipe off and are well worth it in the end. On to the most important part of this dish, the cheese. I've been on a white cheddar kick for a while now, but conceivably any cheese type will do the trick. Half of the cheese I use will be smoked and the other half not smoked. I only like a hint of smokiness in my cheese, too much in a dish like this, and it feels overwhelming. If you care about macros, just know that all cheeses are made from pretty much the same proportion of the same few ingredients, so the macronutrient content of them is essentially identical, save, of course, for the specially marked low or reduced fat types. 40 grams of each, or 80 grams in total. And in keeping with the not so elegant simplicity of this recipe, I just break up the cheese into small chunks using my fingies. This will help later when I add it to the pot. Everything's going in the pot. Speaking of which, how's that looking? Boiling and a bit foamy. I just poke around to make sure no noodles are sticking together or to the pot. A few minutes later and the liquid in the pot is even further concentrated. But the macaroni is not quite done yet. If you're anything like me, at this point you're experiencing a combination of anxiety and excitement. It's down to the wire, and the nudes are almost done, and the sauce is almost too thick for comfort. Again, I'll make sure nothing is sticking to the bottom of the pot, and keep stirring periodically. The 12 minutes is now up, and things are exactly how I want them. Turn off the heat. The macaroni is cooked and still with a bit of a bite. Don't worry, the noodles will continue to cook just a bit more from any residual heat here on out. The water and milk solution has cooked down and is nice and starchy from the macaroni and has a velvety smooth texture to it. In goes the cheddar. Those might seem like big chunks, but both the heat in the pot and the emulsifying power of the evaporated milk quickly turn the cheese chunks into a creamy sauce. There's just one thing left: a lean source of protein. Beans, chicken, and pork tenderloin all work great with this mac and cheese. This time, I chose chicken breast, about 6 ounces per serving, prepped earlier in the day. I like to do all of my bulk chicken meal prepping with the following method because it makes making meals the rest of the week a breeze. Less time cooking mac and cheese somehow means more mac and cheese. I won't question it. Preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit or 218 C. Here I have some boneless, skinless chicken breasts, about 2 pounds worth. I take my naked breasts and one at a time flatten them out with my meat mallet palms, just pressing into the breasts until they have reached a thickness that's just slightly less than an inch. It's a little less showy than using a real mallet, but takes far less time to use my hands. I like to lightly season my breasts with salt, pepper, and onion powder. Not always, however, but I know I'm just going to be using this stuff for mac and cheese and my 10-year breakfast. Into the oven for 16-18 minutes or until 165F, 74C internal temp. Once those are done, I let them rest on a cutting board for about 5 minutes, sometimes longer to cool if I'm not using them right away. I cut them in the strips. Oh man, that's juicy. And finally into cubes, and back into the juices they go to soak up the good stuff left behind from the cooking process. Yeah, flawless chicken breast meal prep right there. This much chicken would be good for about 6 servings of loaded mac and cheese. Into the pot with the chickie and stir. Oh, I love this stuff. Lazy weeknight loaded mac and cheese. It's creamy, it's cheesy, it's savory with a hint of smoky. Perfect for a late night or a quick meal prep. I can't get enough of it. While this hits all the marks for flavor, this mac and cheese is also nutritionally complete, hitting all my calorie and protein needs with a relatively low to moderate amount of fat. With 720 calories, almost 60 grams of protein, 77 grams of carbs, and 24 grams of fat, this recipe turns a high-calorie side dish into a balanced one-pot meal. I must be feeling lazy lately because I've been eating this stuff nearly every day these past 2 weeks. That deserves a happy dance. Whether making dinner for 2 or 2 meal preps, this loaded mac and cheese is sure to hit the spot. More than once.